The message arrived at dawn, cutting through every broadcast channel on Earth like a blade through silk. Maya Chin stood in her kitchen in New Jakarta, coffee cup frozen halfway to her lips, watching the holographic projection shimmer above her counter. The face belonged to Director Voss, the silver-haired administrator of the Outer Council, speaking from his chambers on Mars. Effective immediately, Earth will increase water shipments to the outer colonies by 40%, Voss declared, his voice smooth and clinical. Additionally, all mining operations in the Pacific Basin will be expanded. The Outer Council recognizes this will require sacrifices, but the survival of humanity across the solar system depends on Earth's cooperation. Maya felt her jaw tighten. Cooperation. That word had lost all meaning decades ago. Outside her window, the morning sun struggled through a haze of industrial smog. New Jakarta sprawled beneath her, a city of 30 million souls packed into crumbling infrastructure, recycling their water 3 times over while Mars built fountains in its biodomes. She'd seen those fountains herself, back when she worked as a structural engineer on the Valles Marineris habitat. She'd helped build the paradise that now demanded Earth bleed itself dry. Her tablet buzzed. A message from Dmitri. Meeting tonight. The warehouse. Spread the word. Maya deleted it immediately, but her heart was already racing. For 6 months, they've been organizing in secret. Engineers, doctors, teachers, farmers, people who remembered when Earth mattered, people who were tired of being the solar system's servant. She arrived at the warehouse after dark, slipping through the loading dock where Dimitri's brother worked. Inside, 300 faces stared back at her from the shadows, illuminated by handheld lights. They'd been careful. No network connections, no digital traces. Just people, angry and afraid and desperately hopeful. Dmitri stood on a makeshift platform, his weathered face carved with exhaustion. He'd lost his daughter to lung disease last year, a treatable condition, but Earth's medical supplies have been diverted to Europa's newest research station. You all saw the broadcast, Dmitri began, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. 40% more water. They want to drain the aquifers completely. They want to leave us with nothing. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Maya felt the anger like heat against her skin. We've tried negotiating, Dmitri continued. We've sent delegations. We've begged for representation in the Outer Council. They've ignored every request. To them, we're not partners. We're a resource to be exploited. What choice do we have? Someone shouted from the back. They control the orbital platforms. They control the supply chains. We're trapped. Maya surprised herself by stepping forward. Her voice cut through the noise. We declare independence. The warehouse fell silent. 300 pairs of eyes fixed on her. I'm serious, Maya said, climbing on the platform beside Dmitri. Earth is still home to 4 billion people. We have agriculture, manufacturing, and infrastructure that took centuries to build. Yes, we've been neglected. Yes, we've been drained. But we're not helpless. They'll blockade us, a woman called out. They'll cut off trade completely. Then we learn to survive without them, Maya replied. Our ancestors did it for millennia. We can do it again. But first, we need to make it official. We need to tell the solar system that Earth is no longer their colony. We're our own world. Dmitri stared at her, something like wonder flickering across his face. You're talking about revolution. I'm talking about survival, Maya corrected. Revolution is what happens when people refuse to die quietly. The warehouse erupted into debate. Some called it suicide. Others called it the only path forward. Maya let them argue, let them work through their fear. This decision couldn't be forced. It had to be chosen. By midnight, they'd taken a vote. 273 hands raised in favor, 27 against. Then it's decided. Dmitri said quietly, we start organizing. City by city, region by region. We build a coalition. And when we're ready, we make our declaration. Maya walked home through empty streets, her mind churning with logistics and impossibilities. She knew what they were attempting was insane. The colonies had weapons, ships, technology Earth couldn't match. But they also had a weakness, They needed Earth more than they admitted. Without Earth's water, Mars would wither. Without Earth's minerals, the asteroid stations would collapse. Without Earth's food, Europa's researchers would starve. Independence wouldn't be easy. It might not even be possible. But as Maya reached her apartment and looked out over the struggling, suffocating city she loved, she realized something fundamental had shifted inside her. She was done begging, done apologizing for existing, done watching her world die to feed someone else's dreams. Earth would declare independence, and the solar system would have to listen. 3 months later, Maya stood in the ruins of the old United Nations building, now converted into a makeshift assembly hall. Representatives from every continent had gathered, farmers from the African Union, factory workers from South America, scientists from what remained of Antarctica's research stations. They'd come in secret, traveling by ground transport to avoid satellite detection, carrying nothing digital that could be traced. The air inside the hall was thick with tension and body heat. No climate control. They couldn't risk the energy signature. Maya watched faces glisten with sweat as Dmitri called the session to order. "We're here to ratify the Declaration of Earth Independence," he announced. "But before we vote, everyone needs to understand what we're facing." A woman named Keiko stood, her dark eyes hard as steel. She'd been a cargo pilot before the Outer Council grounded Earth's civilian fleet. Mars has 17 warships in orbit. Europa has 9. They can strike any city on Earth within hours. How we fight that? "We don't fight it," Maya replied, stepping forward. "We make it irrelevant." 3 days ago, our team finished mapping every orbital weapon platform. We've identified their targeting systems, their communication networks, their vulnerabilities. Most of those weapons are automated, controlled remotely from Mars. If we sever the connection, they go dark. "You're talking about attacking their satellites," someone muttered. "That's an act of war." "No," Maya said firmly. "We're talking about disabling surveillance and weapon systems aimed at our planet. That's self-defense. The declaration comes first. The defense comes after, but only if they attack us first." A man named Paulo, representing the Brazilian mining collectives, raised his hand. "What about trade? We still need rare earth elements, medical supplies, technology we can't manufacture ourselves." "We've been analyzing that for months," Maya said, pulling up a projection that filled the air with data. "Earth still produces 70% of the food consumed in the solar system. We have 3/4 of the remaining accessible water. We have manufacturing capacity the colonies can't replicate. Yes, we'll suffer in the short term, but they'll suffer more. We're betting they'll negotiate rather than starve." "You're betting billions of lives," Keiko said coldly. Maya met her gaze. "The Outer Council is already betting billions of lives. Ours. Every time they drain another aquifer, every time they divert medical supplies, every time they treat Earth like a mine to be stripped bare. At least this way, we're choosing our own fate." The debate raged for 6 hours. Representatives shouted, pleaded, threatened to walk out. But slowly, painfully, consensus emerged. Not because everyone agreed, but because everyone understood the alternative was extinction by degrees. When the vote finally came, the result was overwhelming. 412 in favor, 63 against. Dimitri's hands shook as he signed the declaration. Maya signed next, her handwriting surprisingly steady. Then every representative stepped forward, adding their names to the document that would reshape the solar system. The Declaration of Earth Independence was simple, elegant, and uncompromising. It acknowledged Earth's role in humanity's expansion across the solar system. It expressed hope for future cooperation. But it stated clearly, Earth was no longer a resource to be exploited. Earth was a sovereign world, making its own decisions, controlling its own destiny. "We broadcast this tomorrow at noon, Universal Time," Dmitri announced. "Every channel, every frequency. We make sure the entire solar system hears it simultaneously. After that, there's no going back." Maya spent that night on her apartment roof, watching the stars. Somewhere up there, Mars glittered red against the black. Europa shimmered ice blue near Jupiter's edge. Titan was invisible, too distant and small. She'd lived on 2 of those worlds, worked alongside people who now viewed Earth as nothing more than a supply depot. Had they always been like this? Or had distance changed them, made them forget where they came from? Her tablet chimed. A message from her sister on Mars. I heard rumors. Please tell me you're not involved. Maya stared at the message for a long time. She and Yuki hadn't spoken in 2 years, not since their argument about the colony policies. Yuki believed in the Outer Council's vision, humanity spreading across the stars, unshackled from Earth's gravity. Maya had believed it too, once, before she saw the cost. She typed a response. Tomorrow you'll understand. I love you. Please stay safe. Then she deleted the message unsent. At noon the next day, Maya stood beside Dmitri in a broadcast studio cobbled together from salvage equipment. The declaration was loaded, ready to transmit. Across Earth, millions waited by their screens, knowing something monumental was about to happen. Dmitri looked at Maya. Last chance to change your mind. She shook her head. Do it. He pressed a button. The declaration shot outward at light speed, carried by every transmitter on Earth, bounced through every remaining satellite, pushed through every communication channel humanity had ever built. It reached the moon in seconds, Mars in minutes, the outer colonies in hours, and then they waited for the solar system to respond. The response came faster than Maya expected. Within 6 hours, Director Voss appeared on every screen across Earth, his expression carved from ice. The so-called declaration is illegal and will not be recognized by any legitimate authority, Voss stated, each word clipped and precise. Earth's resources belong to all humanity. This selfish act endangers billions of lives across the solar system. The Outer Council gives Earth 72 hours to rescind this declaration and restore normal operations. Failure to comply will result in immediate economic sanctions and potential military intervention. Maya watched from the emergency command center they'd established beneath New Jakarta, an old subway station converted into a nerve center. Around her, dozens of volunteers monitored feeds from around the world and across the solar system. Sanctions, Dmitri muttered bitterly. What can they sanction? They already take everything. But Maya was focused on subtext. Potential military intervention. Voss was threatening war, but his careful phrasing revealed uncertainty. The Outer Council wasn't united. They couldn't be, or the threat would have been absolute. Pull up the Mars feeds, Maya ordered. I want to see their internal broadcasts. What she saw confirmed her suspicions. Mars was fracturing. The lower habitats, still populated by Earth immigrants working service jobs, were protesting in the streets. Signs read, Earth has rights, and we remember home. The Martian administration was deploying riot suppression drones, but the crowds kept growing. It's not just Mars, Keiko reported, hunched over her console. Europa's science teams are refusing to sign the Council's condemnation. Half the asteroid stations are staying neutral. Titan hasn't made any statement at all. Titan's always been independent-minded, Maya said, feeling a flutter of hope. If they break from the Council, others will follow. The next 48 hours became a blur of negotiations, threats, and desperate calculations. Earth's coalition worked around the clock, coordinating with sympathetic groups across the solar system. They shared data about resource flows, documented the Council's exploitation, built a narrative that framed Earth's declaration not as rebellion, but as survival. Maya barely slept. When she did, nightmares plagued her, visions of orbital strikes turning cities to glass, of her sister's habitat on Mars losing pressure, of Earth becoming a grave for billions. With 12 hours left before Voss's deadline, a new message arrived. This one wasn't from the Outer Council. It came from Titan, from Governor Rashid himself. Titan Station recognizes Earth's Declaration of Independence, Rashid announced, his weathered face filling the screen. We've reviewed the resource data and the historical record. Earth's grievances are legitimate. The Outer Council has overstepped its mandate. Titan will not participate in any sanctions or military action against Earth. Furthermore, we invite Earth to bilateral trade negotiations. The command center erupted in cheers. Maya felt tears streaming down her face, though she couldn't remember starting to cry. Dmitri grabbed her shoulders, laughing with exhaustion and relief. One down, he said. How many more? The answer came in a cascade. Within 6 hours, 4 asteroid stations declared neutrality. Europa's Scientific Assembly issued a statement supporting Earth's sovereignty. Even 3 of Mars's outlying habitats, the ones still dependent on Earth's water shipments, broke from the central administration. The Outer Council was collapsing. But Maya knew Voss wouldn't accept defeat easily. Men like him never did. She was right. With 2 hours left before the deadline, alarms shrieked through the command center. Keiko's voice cut through the chaos. Orbital weapons platforms are activating. Targeting protocols engaged. They're locked onto major cities: New Jakarta, Lagos, Sao Paulo, Mumbai. Maya's blood turned to ice. Can we stop them? The team is trying to execute the satellite shutdown protocols, Keiko said, her fingers flying across her console. But the council changed the encryption. We need more time. They didn't have time. Maya could see it in the data streaming across the screens. The weapons would fire in 90 seconds. Millions would die. Her declaration, her revolution, would end in ashes and blood. Then we give them a reason to stop, Maya said, her voice cutting through the panic. She grabbed the broadcast controls. Open every channel. Maximum priority. Maya, what are you? Do it. The channels opened. Maya stared into the camera, knowing Voss would see this, knowing the entire solar system would watch. Director Voss, I'm Maya Chun, primary signatory of Earth's Declaration of Independence. I know you've activated the orbital weapons. I know you think threatening us will force surrender. But you need to understand something. Earth's 4 billion people have made their choice. We'd rather die free than live as slaves. If you fire those weapons, you won't break us. You'll murder us. And the solar system will never forget. Every colony, every station, every human being who still has a conscience will know what you are. A mass murderer. A tyrant. The man who killed humanity's homeworld. She leaned forward, letting her exhaustion and fury show. But there's another option. Stand down. Recognize our sovereignty. Negotiate in good faith. Show the solar system that you're better than your threats. Show them you're still human. Silence stretched across the channels. The weapons remained locked. Maya watched the countdown. 60 seconds, 50, 40. At 15 seconds, the targeting systems disengaged. The command center held its breath. Then Voss's face appeared on screen, and Maya saw something she hadn't expected: defeat. Earth's declaration will be taken under consideration, Voss said stiffly. All military action is suspended pending negotiations. He vanished. The screens went dark. Maya collapsed into her chair, shaking. Around her, people were crying, hugging, laughing with the manic energy of those who just survived the impossible. Dmitri knelt beside her. You did it. You actually did it. We did it, Maya corrected. But she knew the truth. They'd won a battle, not the war. Voss would be back, with new weapons, new threats, new ways to make Earth suffer, unless they found a different path forward. The negotiations began 3 weeks later aboard the Meridian, a neutral transport station orbiting between Earth and Mars. Maya floated in the conference module, still adjusting to zero gravity after years planetside. Across the table, Director Voss sat rigid in his restraints, flanked by representatives from Mars, Europa, and the remnants of the Outer Council. Governor Rashid from Titan served as mediator, his presence a reminder that the Council's authority had fractured. Let's establish basic parameters, Rashid began. Earth claims full sovereignty over its territory and resources. The Outer Council claims that Earth's resources are necessary for survival of interplanetary colonies. We need to find middle ground. There is no middle ground, Voss said coldly. Earth cannot be allowed to hold the solar system hostage. Maya felt her temper flare. We're not holding anyone hostage. You've been holding us hostage for 30 years. We're simply saying it stops now. Earth's water reserves are finite, Voss countered. Mars needs those reserves to expand its habitats. Europa's research depends on Earth's heavy metals. You're condemning millions to what? Maya interrupted. To the same slow starvation you've been imposing on us? Earth's population has been declining for 2 decades because we don't have enough resources to sustain ourselves. You've taken our water, our minerals, our people, and given us nothing but orders in return. We gave you purpose, Voss said, and Maya saw true belief in his eyes. Earth was dying before the expansion. Overpopulated, polluted, exhausted. The colonies saved humanity by giving us new worlds to inhabit. You saved yourselves, Maya shot back. The wealthy, the educated, the connected, they got to leave. The rest of us stayed behind to keep the machine running. Rashid raised his hands. This bitterness won't help. We need practical solutions. For 6 days, they argued. Earth proposed a partnership model. Resources traded at fair market value, with Earth retaining veto power over major exports. The Council wanted continued access to Earth's water at subsidized rates, claiming humanitarian necessity. Maya found herself walking a razor's edge. Pushed too hard, and Voss would walk away, possibly resuming hostilities. Concede too much, and Earth's declaration would become meaningless. On the 7th day, an unexpected message arrived from Mars. Not from the government, from the streets. The protests that had started when Earth declared independence had grown into a full movement. Workers were striking, refusing to maintain systems until the Council recognized Earth's rights. The video showed crowds in the tens of thousands, filling the dome plazas, chanting for justice. Maya watched Voss's face as he received the same reports. She saw something crack behind his eyes, not compassion, but calculation. He was losing control of his own people. Perhaps a compromise, Voss said finally, each word seemingly pulled from him with pliers. Earth maintained sovereignty. But we established a solar trade authority, neutral, with representatives from all major colonies and Earth. This authority negotiates resource exchanges, ensures fair compensation, and prevents any single world from exploiting others. Maya exchanged glances with her delegation. It wasn't everything, but it was real. Who controls this authority? Rotating leadership, Rashid suggested. 1-year terms. Representatives selected by their home populations, not appointed by governments. And Earth gets veto power over any proposal that would harm our ecosystem, Maya added. Non-negotiable. Voss's jaw clenched. Agreed, but Mars gets the same protection. We're all vulnerable now. It took another week to draft the Accords, the Solar Federation Treaty. They called it a complete restructuring of interplanetary governance. Earth would be independent but not isolated. Trade would continue, but on equal terms. Each world would control its own destiny while acknowledging their interdependence. The night before the signing, Maya found herself alone in the observation module, staring at Earth's blue curve against the black. She thought about everyone who'd made this possible. Dmitri, who'd lost so much and still fought. Keiko, who'd risked everything on a dangerous gamble. The millions who'd stood up when standing up seemed impossible. A voice behind her. You should be proud. She turned to find Voss floating in the doorway. In the dim light, he looked older, tired, human. Are you really okay with this? Maya asked, or are you just waiting for another chance to take control? Voss drifted closer, his expression unreadable. I believed I was saving humanity, building a civilization that could outlast Earth's decay. But watching those protests on Mars, seeing my own people turn against me, maybe I forgot what humanity meant. You forgot where you came from, Maya said softly. You forgot that Earth isn't just resources. It's home. It's where we learn to dream about the stars. I haven't forgotten, Voss replied. I just thought we'd evolved past needing it. He paused. I was wrong. The next day, they signed the treaty aboard the Meridian, with representatives from every major human settlement watching. Maya's hand trembled as she added her signature to Earth's copy. Voss signed for Mars, his face carefully neutral. Rashid signed for Titan, smiling like someone who'd just watched children learn to share. When it was done, the solar system had changed. Not perfectly. Old resentment still simmered. Practical challenges remained enormous. But fundamentally, Earth was free. The colonies were equals. Humanity had taken its first real step toward becoming something larger than competing territories. Maya returned to Earth a week later, descending through atmosphere that seemed clearer somehow, though nothing had physically changed yet. The real work was just beginning, rebuilding Earth's infrastructure, negotiating trade deals, proving independence could work. But as her transport touched down in New Jakarta and she saw the crowds waiting, saw the hope in their faces, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt like humanity might actually survive itself. 5 years passed. Maya stood in the restored United Nations Plaza, watching the morning sun illuminate gardens that had once been concrete. Earth had changed, slowly but undeniably. The aquifers were recovering. Protected by the veto power Earth wielded in the Solar Trade Authority. Manufacturing had returned, adapting to sustainable models that actually worked. The population had stabilized, even begun growing again as young people decided Earth might have a future worth investing in. But success had brought new challenges. "You need to see this," Dmitri said, hurrying across the plaza. He'd aged visibly in 5 years, his hair white now, but his eyes still burned with purpose. He'd become Earth's primary representative to the Trade Authority. Maya followed him to a conference room, where Keiko waited, her face grim. "Mars is defaulting on their water payments," Keiko said without preamble. "3rd month in a row. They claim financial hardship, but our intelligence suggests they're diverting funds to build new weapons platforms." Maya felt cold dread settle in her stomach. "Vas?" "No, he retired last year. The new director is Elena Volkov. She's worse, nationalist, aggressive, convinced Mars should dominate the inner system." "Does Titan know?" "Rashid is trying to mediate, but Volkov isn't listening. She's building a coalition Mars, 3 asteroid stations, even some factions on Europa. They're calling it the Colonial Alliance. They say Earth's veto power gives us too much control." Maya closed her eyes, fighting despair. 5 years of peace, and already it was crumbling. What does the Alliance want? "To renegotiate the treaty," Dmitri said. "They want to eliminate Earth's veto, establish majority rule voting in the Trade Authority. It would let the colonies outvote us on resource extraction. So we'd be right back where we started." "Worse," Keiko said. "This time we don't have surprise on our side. They know our capabilities. They've built countermeasures." For 3 days, Maya barely left the command center, now a permanent installation beneath New Jakarta. She watched as the Colonial Alliance grew, as more stations signed on, drawn by promises of cheaper resources and less Earth oversight. She saw the propaganda spreading to the colonies. Earth portrayed as greedy, selfish, hoarding resources while brave pioneers of space struggled to survive. It was everything she'd feared. Independence hadn't solved the fundamental problem. Humans remained human, capable of greed and short-sightedness regardless of which world they lived on. But then something unexpected happened. The protests started on Mars, just like before. But this time they were different. Young people, born on Mars but raised on stories of Earth's revolution, flooded the streets. They carried signs reading, "Remember the treaty," and "No more colonial wars." Then Europa's scientists issued a joint statement refusing to participate in any alliance that violated the Solar Federation principles. The asteroid stations began splitting, some joining the alliance, others reaffirming their commitment to the treaty. Most surprisingly, Titan Station didn't just mediate. It acted. Governor Rashid announced that Titan would immediately cease all trade with any colony that violated the treaty terms. Given that Titan controlled most of the outer system's fuel production, it was a devastating threat. Maya watched Volkov's face on the broadcast as the alliance collapsed around her. The director tried to maintain her aggressive stance, but reality was undeniable. Mars couldn't survive without Titan's fuel, Europa's research, and Earth's food. The Colonial Alliance had been built on resentment, but resentment couldn't manufacture resources from vacuum. Within 2 weeks, Volkov resigned. Within a month, Mars had a new government committed to honoring the treaty. But the crisis had revealed something crucial. The Solar Federation only worked if everyone chose to make it work. Treaties were just words without the will to uphold them. Maya proposed something radical at the next Trade Authority meeting, the Solar Assembly. Every human settlement, no matter how small, gets representation. She explained to the gathered delegates. Not just governments, actual people, elected directly. The Assembly can't override the Trade Authority, but it can recommend policies, mediate disputes, and most importantly, remind us we're one species sharing one solar system. You want a solar parliament, Rashid said, intrigued. I want a voice for humanity, Maya corrected. Not just nations or colonies, but people. So we never forget we're in this together. The proposal took 6 months to approve. The first Solar Assembly election was chaotic, passionate, imperfect, and beautiful. Maya watched a farmer from Earth's African Union debate resource policy with a miner from Ceres Station. She saw a teacher from Mars collaborate with scientists from Europa to draft education standards. She witnessed humanity learning to be human across millions of kilometers. On the 10th anniversary of Earth's independence, Maya returned to her old apartment in New Jakarta. It had been preserved as a historical site, though she'd never understood why. She stood at the window where she'd first heard Voss's demands, where she'd first dared to imagine freedom. A message arrived on her tablet from her sister Yuki, who'd finally reached out 2 years ago. They video called monthly now, rebuilding slowly. Congratulations on the anniversary, Yuki wrote. I was wrong to oppose you. You didn't just save Earth. You saved all of us from becoming monsters. Maya smiled, tears blurred her vision. She thought about everything they'd been through. The terror of facing orbital weapons. The exhaustion of endless negotiations. The heartbreak of watching the treaty almost collapse. She thought about Dimitri's daughter, who would never see this future. About the millions who'd suffered under the Council's exploitation. About the billions who now had a chance at something better. Earth's independence hadn't fixed everything. Humans still argued, still competed, still occasionally threatened each other. But they did it as equals now. They did it while remembering they shared a common origin and possibly a common destiny. Maya looked up at the stars beginning to emerge in the evening sky. Mars glowed red, peaceful. Jupiter's moons were invisible, but she knew they were there. Europa conducting its research, her scientists free to pursue knowledge without colonial oversight. Somewhere out past Saturn, Titan Station continued its quiet revolution, proving that distance from Earth didn't require abandoning Earth's values. And here on Earth, 4 billion people lived free, rebuilding the world that had birthed humanity's greatest dreams. Maya typed a response to her sister. We saved ourselves. All of us. That's what makes it matter. She sent the message and watched it stream upward, bouncing through relays, crossing the void to Mars in minutes. Once, such messages had been rare luxuries. Now they were common as breath. The solar system had changed. Perhaps not in the ways anyone had imagined when humans first left Earth gravity, but in the ways that mattered most. They'd learned to be more than conquerors and colonizers. They'd learned to be human across the stars. And Earth, patient, battered, enduring Earth, had taught them how. As darkness fell over New Jakarta, Maya made a decision. Tomorrow she'd announce her retirement from the Trade Authority. It was time for younger voices, for people born into this new era, to shape its future. She'd done her part. The revolution was over. The work of living with its consequences had just begun. But that was someone else's story now. Maya turned from the window, content to let the next generation take the torch. They'd fought for independence. Now they'd see if they could build something worthy of that fight. Outside, Earth turned beneath its stars, free at last, and still learning what freedom meant.